Turning now to another snooping scandal, this one perpetrated by reporters at Bloomberg News who secretly accessed the accounts of Bloomberg's business clients. Bloomberg says it has put an end to it, but serious questions about what took place are just beginning.
An inexcusable error. That's how Bloomberg News editor Matthew Winkler described the disclosure.
The company is apologizing for allowing its journalists access to computer terminals used by its financial customers.
Reporters at Bloomberg News were able to access the accounts of financial traders and executives who subscribe to Bloomberg's market data service. And former Bloomberg staffers say it was common practice.
If you want to look up on a user where they work, their address, their contact, it's pretty much widely available for people that are in. Everybody does it.
Although Bloomberg denies it, traders suspect reporters snooped into their private accounts looking for news tips.
If someone's looking at that information and using that information against you to their advantage, that's when the real breach comes into play.
But the real breach might be reports that the snooping included high-level government officials.
Now, the spying, according to CNBC, even extended to such top government officials as Ben Bernanke and Tim Geithner.
And that's bringing some very serious scrutiny to Bloomberg.
The Bank of Japan joins the European Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, and the U.S. Treasury as agencies currently reviewing how Bloomberg journalists may have used proprietary information about officials in their reporting.
As they say, we haven't seen the last of this story.
Well, this was just unbelievable. Talk about stumble bum. So one of these Bloomberg reporters calls up one of the traders who has one of these terminals and says, "Hey, has so-and-so left your firm?" And he goes, no, he's still here. Why? Oh, he hasn't logged onto his computer in a while. I mean, that's the biggest fear you have in the world, is that some tech guy, upstairs somewhere is like checking on you, see when you don't even think about it. But here, somebody who's, has the same kind of access that you do to all your financial data and everything else. I mean, they must have known about it. How could they say that it was an error? It was a tool.
Yeah, that's a great point. The error suggests a one-time lapse of judgment or a couple things done wrong in short succession. But this sounds like it was standard practice. Yeah. And I got to say, the inexcusable error phrase notwithstanding, I didn't feel a lot of contrition coming from the comments out of Bloomberg on this. There were comments like, well, to make Goldman Sachs, where the person you're talking about, to make Goldman Sachs and others feel less concerned, we're going to change this practice. This, it seems obvious as an outsider, like whoever was responsible for implementing this at Bloomberg should lose their job. Like there should be thorough reporting from inside Bloomberg on how this came to be the standard MO there. My hunch is that we're not going to see anyone get fired and that we're not going to get that sort of deep reporting, but we should.
Because that's the way the terminals were built. Yeah. So you could do that.
Well, this isn't going to fade away, and it's not an error. No. This is a huge, huge story. I think it would have been a much bigger story this week if the Obama White House hadn't had such a bad week. And I think it's going to just keep growing. And when we talk about, well, you don't think people are going to get fired, I think we're eventually going to see a lot of people get fired.
Good.
And I think we're going to see, we may very well see the Bloomberg News Service shaken to its core because I mean, this is just such a breach of trust.
It's like the Rupert Murdoch hacking thing.
It is.
It's really not that much different.
No, it isn't much different at all, except that
it's almost worse.
Except that in this case, we're going to give you the terminal, and then we're going to use the terminal to spy on you. I mean, it's an incredible story.
A little bit of background on Bloomberg as an organization. It started out as a financial data service, and there was no news operation in terms of the news that we know, like Bloomberg today. And it was only after they were established, where they were selling the data to companies, did they begin to bring on reporters and start doing a regular news service like we know it now. And it's very interesting. When they started doing it, there was a lot of crossover between the machines and the reporters. Reporters were actually given bonuses based on the number of machines that were sold, and they were very aware of this at the time. And then they started bringing in really terrific news editors like Matt Winkler, who came over from the Wall Street Journal. And it seemed like, it was two completely separate operations. But I can really see that they never got past that double business that they were running. And I don't think it's going to last, Dan. I think basically Bloomberg has kind of earned its its bones as a news operation now and will be able to get back. But it does seem to be growing right now. USA Today had a piece today saying that there are more questions. I think J.P. Morgan raising more questions. But I think Bloomberg is here to stay, but maybe with some different managers.
I think a lot of different managers, because this is kind of mind-boggling. I mean, it's just totally mind-boggling. And the way that they're responding to it, or some people are responding to it like, well, this is just how we do business. What? Nobody. I mean, it's just crazy. So, and we're talking about people with a lot of money at stake and a lot of proprietary information. So believe me, they're not going to let that just go away quietly. Something has to happen there.
Well, it's going to ultimately, it's going to threaten the terminal side of the business, because there are competitors to Bloomberg.
That's a good point.
And and a lot of organizations may start saying, well, gee, we can get our financial information from somebody else who isn't going to be spying on us for the purposes of their news division. That's why I think this is just going to continue to grow.
And you got the added layer of the the government being involved in this, in terms of them too being so.
Well, I think the Bloomberg machines are more settled than the news service. I think the machines will last longer than will the news operation. I'm hoping they both continue to exist, because Bloomberg News has become a really terrific news service.
It has. It has.
Yeah, I remember talking to someone at Bloomberg when Mike Bloomberg was running for mayor of New York, and I tried to raise the question, how are you guys going to make sure that your coverage of things involving New York City in the mayoral race is fair? The Dorchester Reporter here appointed an ombudsman when the wife of the publisher was running for state rep. I thought maybe Bloomberg would do something like that. And the response was just, well, we'll conduct things with the same high standards we always do. No, not much self-awareness.